of course, led by Mike Woodson. I don't know if he's on the hot seat or not. I don't know. It sort of feels like he decides that, but it certainly has been a little more turbulent there than Indiana fans would like. They got their season underway tonight with a nice win over SIU. John, for Mike Woodson, what do you want to see? What do you want to see for him and this team this season? Like, what feels right in terms of the direction for the Hoosiers?
You know, I watched the game tonight. I don't love the two big lineup. Ballo's kind of slow. They're kind of sluggish. They actually play a lot better when he was sitting down. They got the ball up and down. But I just want to see them win the games they're supposed to win and steal a few. I don't think we're expecting them to be world beaters, but it is Indiana. They have a nicer size NIL. They've got some good guys out of the portal. And that's kind of where I see – if Indiana can stay – I mean, on TV they were saying they're one of the more talented teams in the Big Ten. So they should be up there towards the top. And maybe some kind of continuity in winning, right? We want to see Indiana sustain and be a good team. It's good for college basketball. I enjoy watching them as well. So I think that's the biggest thing for me with Mike Woodson this year. Hey, you put together a solid team. Now let's start to translate that to wins and not disappointments, which, you know, the last couple of years, whenever we start believing, they usually let us down.
Yeah, Mike, in terms of the formula for them this year, I mean, they shot the ball pretty well, 38% from three, obviously with the bigs that John talked about. I mean, is that what it needs to look like? I mean, I don't know if you can expect to get 13 to 17 from McKenzie every single night, but is that sort of just the gist of how Indiana needs to win basketball games?
Well, I think John touched on a good point. I think when you look at playing those two bigs, you're going to have spacing issues, for one. And two, like McKenzie Mbako thrives when he's at the four. And when he's playing with either Malik Renew or Ballo, not both of them. I mean, I get you have great positional size when you have those three on the court together, but I still think that like you're going to have to really stagger those five men's minutes. Because I do like what Renew can bring at the five. I think Ballo, it's a give and a take, right? I mean, he can be so dominant down low, and he can also be turnover prone, and he can also miss free throws. And so you play that game night in and night out. And look, I think Myles Rice, it's any time that Indiana's had success in the last 10 years, right? I'd say there's two teams that stick out. 2 years ago with Jalen Hood-Schifino running the point. Obviously, Trace Jackson-Davis, big part of that. And then, you know, whatever it was, 8, 9, 10 years ago when I was playing at Illinois, when Yogi Ferrell was running the show. Indiana has been good when they've had a point guard. And so we can talk about Ballo and talk about their bigs, but it comes down to Myles Rice and how productive he is this year, how much he gets others involved, how much he pushes the pace so that they don't get bogged down in the half court, so that they don't run into those spacing issues. That's what's on the table. And for Mike Woodson, right, like you get a lot of talent that comes in. They pony up the NIL, right? Donors come in, they pony up the NIL, and expectations follow that. And it's Indiana. And you've been – I think there's a misnomer a little bit with Mike Woodson. I mean, he's been to the tournament 2 of his 3 years. Kyle Neptune would probably take that at this point. But, look, you got to find a way to like restore grit, I think, to that program. There were times last year I thought they wilted in some areas. I love the talent. I love their pieces. Now it becomes like the chess match a little bit of how Woodson decides to put it all together.
Matt, what do you think? What do you think of everything you just said?
Yeah, I totally agree too. And when you talk about like hot seat or expectations, I mean, Indiana is a blue blood, right? I mean, it's a blue blood. So I don't care who the head coach is. 20 wins is not the standard. The standard is to get to the Final Four and try to win a national championship and compete for a national championship, compete for a Big Ten championship. So, you know, look, last year the 3-point shooting, I don't think you can call it bad. I think you can call it abysmal. Tonight they go 6 for 16. They shoot 38% from the 3-point line. I think that's a big key for this team. Can they be a consistent 3-point shooting team and compete for a Big Ten championship? But that's when you talk about pressure on coaches and different things like that, there's none more than schools like Indiana, Kentucky, Carolina, Duke. UCLA. I mean, those standards are above everybody else in the country because they are the quote-unquote blue bloods.
Yeah. So obviously got those two games tonight. There was another intriguing debut, at least for one of the freshmen that we got tonight over